Hey everybody, this is Mr. Wyant from Burtner High School. We're about to go over our first part of Unit 1 of Pre-AP Chemistry. I'm pretty excited to get this started. I hope you are as well. You guys will notice this first unit starts out relatively easy. This semester does build, so I need you guys to pay attention and fill out your notes as we go over this. I will be asking periodically for proof and some demonstration of your understanding of learning of Unit 1, Study of Matter. All right, so the scientific method, starting way back at the very beginning, basically like it says here, is a systematic approach used to study in any science. It's a very ordered, systematic way of doing things. We don't make assumptions, we back things up with evidence, we make hypotheses, and we work our way through the process so that when we get to the very end, we are very confident in our findings. Again, if I'm talking too fast, don't forget you can pause so you could fill in your notes, whether you're doing that on paper or with your keyboard in the Google Doc. Now, there are two types of data that we have. There's qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is more, it involves no numbers whatsoever. It could say, okay, well, that litmus paper for, say, a pH test has turned blue. What that tells me, it's a base. This one has turned red. That tells me it's an acid. How acidic, how basic, I don't have a clue. I just know it's red or blue. That's qualitative. You could do a simple survey and say, well, how do you feel about that movie? That's a qualitative question. They could say, I liked it, I didn't like it, I hated this particular part, whatever it may be. That is qualitative. Now, quantitative, like a quantity, it refers to a numerical value. Whether you're weighing the mass of a particular substance, is going to give you X number of grams. That is a quantitative number assigned value. We do both, but typically in chemistry it's a heck of a lot more of the quantitative and very little of the qualitative. Going back to the scientific method, your hypothesis, again, is your assumption that you're going to study. You're going to say, okay, if this happens, then this. It's often an if-then statement. If this happens, then this should happen. We have a control. A control is basically something you can compare to, so that when you are finished with the experiment, you could say, okay, I already know what a positive result looks like because my control was guaranteed to be successful. That way, at the end, if my experiment looks like my positive control, then I know it was a success. We also have a control that's called a negative control that we have purposely designed to fail. I know that sounds weird, but we have a control that is purposely designed to fail so that when we are finished with the experiment, if our result looks like the negative control, then we know that that's a no-go and a negative result that did not work. If we just do an experiment and we come up with a number is useless unless you know what that number means. So we have a positive control to say, okay, this number is a positive result, and this number over here is a negative result. Then our experiment will lie somewhere in between, and we have a better reference point of how to make sense of that numerical value. And of course, the experiment is what we do in order to get the results and to test our hypothesis. Now, chemistry in general. What is chemistry? Again, we're going to go through a lot more of that. I know you guys have been kind of curious. Basically, in a nutshell, in a very unsatisfactory, very simplistic answer, is basically the study of matter and the changes that it undergoes. There are many changes we're going to talk about throughout chemistry, but we are going to study matter and how matter changes. That, like I said, in a very simplistic answer, is what chemistry is. Now, I know that doesn't really satisfy you because you guys would like to know a little bit more about, okay, what actually is chemistry, and I hear you. But again, as far as note-taking, that's all you need to know at this point. It is what matter is and how it changes over time. Now, matter, again, if you don't remember from middle school, is basically anything that has mass and takes up any amount of space. It doesn't have to be heavy. It could be almost weightless. It has to take up any amount of space. It could be this smallest, tiny little space, or it could be massive like the actual space. Anything that has any amount of mass and any amount of space is considered matter. So matter is basically everything that you and I interact with on a daily basis. We live in a world made up of matter. Everything in this table behind me makes up the matter that we're talking about, whether again it's something as lightweight as air or something as heavy as a table. The only things that are not matter are things like photons and light, emotions, colors, things like that, but it's really actually very difficult to think of other things that are not matter, because like I said, on a daily basis, all we interact with is matter. Now, there's a definition between weight and mass. Mass is the amount of matter that you contain. So, for example, our bodies contain a certain number of mass. Now, when I stand on a scale or balance and I weigh myself, I'm not really measuring my mass. I'm measuring my weight. Weight is the amount of mass you have relative to the amount of gravity. So, for example, if I'm on the moon, I'm going to weigh significantly less, but I will still have the same amount of mass. If I was to go to Saturn, one, I would get killed because the gravity is too great, but let's just say we could be on Saturn. The gravity is so immense that my weight would be significantly, astronomically higher, but the amount of mass I would have would still be the same as I would have on the moon or on Earth. So again, the difference between mass and matter is the amount of gravity that is pulling on that mass towards the center of our planet. I'm going to go ahead and stop there, make these nice bite-sized chunks, and I'll see you again soon.